All right, so in this video, I'm going to show you guys step by step all the way through how to make a great looking professional food blog. A food blog that you can use to make money with if you want, sort of go beyond like a hobby of cooking and actually turn it into potentially a business. I spent a lot of time putting this tutorial together and going through every single detail. And this here is the food blog that we're going to make. I think it's a great look, a very professional looking food blog. And actually, if you look at other popular food blogs out there, it has a very similar look. Just check out some of these other food blogs here. So as you can see, a really good look and very comparable to a lot of other food blogs out there. I tried to make this tutorial as comprehensive as possible so that really by using this tutorial, I'm going to take you all the way from nothing to having a food blog and starting to write your very first food blog posts. And along with that, I'm going to give you guys some hints on how to best take advantage of the tools in this food blog theme. So I'm going to show you how to set up advertising areas so you can start making money with your food blog. I'm going to show you how to get those recipe cards at the top of Google search. So if you've ever seen it, let's just look at it real quick. See these cards up here at the top? We've got this like easy pizza example, and we've got some featured recipes up here at the top. We're going to use a tool on our website that's going to give us the opportunity to have those cards show up just like that. Because that doesn't happen automatically. There's specific steps that you need to take to give yourself the opportunity to have your recipes show up there at the top of Google search. And finally, I'm going to give you a few hints on how to write your blog posts, how to lay them out, and what you can do to help people click through and choose your recipes over some of the other recipes out there. So if you're excited about this and you want to dive in and get started, again, this is a very detailed tutorial. And so if you don't have time to do it right now, what I'm going to ask you to do is first of all, subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can easily come back and find this, and go ahead and share this tutorial with yourself. Use the share button down below, email it to yourself, message it to yourself, whatever you need to do so you can come back to it later. And if you know somebody else that should be building a food blog, share this tutorial with them also. I'm really here to help you build an awesome food blog. So if you're ready to spend about an hour and a half with this guy right here, building a food blog, let's go ahead and let's do this together. I'm Tim from realwebsitehints.com, and it's my mission and my passion to help you find the best and easiest ways of building great looking websites. Okay, so how much is this going to cost? How much is it going to cost to set up a professional food blog? And I'm talking about the whole package. So we're going to get a domain name. We're going to get professional email at our own domain so that, for example, in this tutorial, I'm going to build Cooking Time with Tim, and I'm going to be able to have tim@cookingtimewithtim.com as my email address. And you're going to be able to have the same thing for your domain name, so whatever your domain name is and whatever you want actually for your email address. It could be something like info, it could be your name, whatever you want. So we're going to get domain, email, we're going to set up WordPress, and we're going to get this theme here that's going to give us this professional look. And I'm also going to show you a few different ways you can style this theme to get different looks out of it. So the whole thing is going to cost a little less than $130. It's about $59 right now for the hosting using DreamHost, which is also the same hosting company that I use. And the reason why I choose DreamHost for myself is, first of all, when you register your domain, you get free domain privacy. And what that means is that instead of sharing your email address and phone number with the world, you're sharing a DreamHost email address, phone number for your website. And so basically what that does is it just prevents you from getting a lot of spam emails, from getting those annoying telemarketing phone calls, and from getting junk mail at home. So that's why I like using that, and most other hosting companies and domain registrars charge you extra for that. So I feel like DreamHost gives you a good value right there. I also like the fact that with this hosting plan that we're going to set up here, you can actually build as many websites as you want to. So if you've got a couple of different ideas that you want to try out, you're free to sort of explore those different ideas using this hosting setup. So the hosting is $59, and then this WordPress theme is going to be $69. So that's a total of a little less than $130, which I think is a great deal for starting a professional blog. And in about 2 hours or so, you should be able to have your entire website set up. And I'm going to include links down below to every single step of the process along the way. So if you're already familiar with some of the things, you can skip ahead. And also at the bottom of the video, you should be able to see those little bars at the bottom that show you each different section, so you can easily skip from one section to the next. I'll also include links to DreamHost that we're going to use and to the Fudica theme that we're going to use down below. And if you use those links, that helps to support this free tutorial. So I definitely thank you guys for your support. Now let's go ahead and dive in and start building this awesome looking food blog. Okay, so if you use that link that's down below the video, that should take you here. And what we want to do is, since we're building a WordPress website, we want to use this WordPress tab here. And for this video, we're going to use the WordPress Basics. That's going to be sort of the lowest cost to entry to get into WordPress that DreamHost offers. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And now if you're interested in DreamPress, which is sort of the more advanced options, and there's some great features that it has, and I think it's even good for beginners if you have extra money to spend to build your website. I've got a separate video on that, and I will link to that in the description down below and up above this video. But right now, let's look at these two WordPress plans. The first thing I want to point out is that with DreamHost, you get a 97-day money-back guarantee. So if you're not happy with the hosting, or if you just change your mind about wanting to do this at all, you can always get your money back within that first 97 days. And I'm going to suggest that you go for, well, it's really up to you. I'm going to suggest that you go for 1 year. I think it takes some time to build and get your website going, so I think a year is a good amount of time to sort of test that out. If you know that you're committed to making a website, some website, even if it's not this first website that you start, I mean, going through for 3 years is definitely a great bargain because you're going to get this introductory price for the whole 3 years, which is really good. And also, according to this too, it renews at a lower amount after that introductory period. And the great thing about the WordPress Unlimited plan is that you get unlimited websites. So, you might be just starting with one first website, but you might have some other ideas and you might want to try those out. So you can just go ahead and do that because you already have the hosting paid for in order to do that. But for this video, I'm going to go for the 1 year. Doesn't really change the price for the unlimited. The unlimited is the same price for that introductory period. And as you can see here, the introductory price after that promotional period is $9.95 a month, which is still a really good deal for the hosting that we're getting here. And the other reason why I recommend the unlimited plan is because you get the email included at your domain, and you can have as many email addresses as you want, and you can even have different email addresses at different domains. If you're trying out different ideas, this is a great way to do that. So go ahead and click on sign up now. And if you know which domain name you want to use, or if you were ready to just go ahead and try a domain name, you can do that now, or you can click choose a domain later, and you can even start building your website without a domain, but it's a little bit easier if you already pick your domain right now. So let's go ahead and we're going to do that. Okay, and I've got a little bit of advice on what you should name your website, some ideas that will help you kind of get the most out of what your website is. First of all, if you can include the main topic of your website, so say you do gluten-free cooking, one idea is that you could put gluten-free someplace in the name of your domain. That might help. The other idea is just make it something simple and easy to say and easy to understand, maybe 3 or 4 words. So what I'm going to do, for example, is I'm going to do cooking time with Tim. It's not really the best because I'm going to use time like T-H-Y-M-E. Kind of clever, but it's probably not what I would actually use for a real website, only because people might misunderstand that. But you want to come up with something catchy, something that's easy to say, so that when somebody's talking to a friend, they can easily recommend, oh, you should go to Cooking Time with Tim, or whatever your website is. So that's something to think about. The other thing you want to do is you definitely want to have, if you have somebody else who can look over the name for what it looks like when all of the letters are run together, because I've had some embarrassing moments where I've come up with some awesome website ideas, and then I look at what the name says when you put all the words together, and sometimes it just doesn't look right. And then the last kind of tip is you don't want to use a trademark in your name. So if you like to do, for example, Instapot recipes, I wouldn't recommend putting Instapot in the name, only because technically by law, to maintain a trademark, companies need to defend that trademark by keeping other people from using it. So I wouldn't use a trademark in my name. That's kind of my main advice there. Go ahead and take your time, think of some good ideas, and see if they work, see if nobody else is using them, or unfortunately just sitting on them and doing absolutely nothing with them, which a lot of people come up with all these ideas and write all these domain names down and then just don't do anything with it. But go ahead, spend some time, think of a good domain name for yourself, and then we can continue on with this tutorial when you're ready. So the name I'm going to go for this test website is Cooking Time with Tim.com, and you want to put the .com in there just to make sure that it's showing you the .com options. Okay, and we're going to go click search, and it was available, so I can click add for $0. And now we've got our payment methods, but we want to make sure that we're getting exactly what we want and nothing extra. So over here on the right, you'll see sort of the summary of what is being set up. So we've got a setup fee. There's no setup fee. That's great. Domain privacy, as I was saying before, this sort of hides your information by putting it behind DreamHost's information so that you don't get a bunch of spam email or phone calls or junk mail in the mail. And then we get the domain name here that we signed up for. And we want to have WordPress pre-installed, and that's just going to get us going immediately. We're not going to have to do anything to get WordPress set up, so that's great. I don't like the WP website builder, as I said, so just uncheck that. We just don't need any extra things on your WordPress website, and that's kind of one of the keys to making sure that your experience with WordPress goes as smoothly as possible, is to just not have any extra plugins, any extra themes. You want to have just what you need on your website. As next thing, I do recommend this Dream Shield protection. I kind of wish that they just included this, but it does scan for malware and malicious code. But I would say right in the beginning, it's definitely optional. So I'm actually going to uncheck this. But I do think that $3 for this protection is worth it. It's just extra money, and if you don't have extra money right now, don't do it. But just think later on down the road, you should get some protection for your website. Okay, so that's going to bring our total to $59.40. This G Suite is a free 30-day trial, which of the Google's professional email for businesses. I think if you're just starting out, just use the email that they provide you. Once you start making money with your website, then you can go and get G Suite or one of the other more professional email services. Then all you need to do is just either choose to use a credit card or a PayPal account to check out. And then after you fill out your billing information, whether it's with PayPal or with a credit card, scroll down to here to the bottom, double check that we have the things that we want here. So definitely pre-install WordPress. The Dream Shield protection is optional. And then click Submit Order. Okay, and so then after signing up, WordPress is going to get installed on our website. Our domain is going to start to be configured. So if you're looking for a moment to take a break, this might be a good time to take a short break. And then when we come back, we should have WordPress kind of installing, and hopefully it'll be installed, and we can start setting up our email, and then we can start configuring our website. Okay, so now while WordPress is installing and while our hosting is getting set up, we should actually be able to set up our email. So let's go ahead and here and click Complete Setup. And it's going to take us right into starting and creating an email address at our own domain. So we've got our domain name here, and now if you have multiple domain names that you're using with DreamHost, you could select from your different domains that you already own. But since we just signed up, we just have this one domain name, so we'll go ahead and set this up. And you can set it up to whatever you want. I mean, it could be info at your domain, or in this case, I like to use Tim at my domain, so we're just going to put in Tim here. And give the mailbox sort of the name, who it's coming from. If you're using info at your domain, you might put your domain name here. I'm going to put my name. And then you can choose to pick a password for you, or you can pick your own password. And I definitely recommend using some sort of password manager. For example, I use LastPass. When you start getting into the online world just in general, but especially when you're making websites, there's going to be a lot of accounts that you need to sign up for. So having a good password manager like LastPass is definitely really helpful for this. We're going to keep this checked just to make sure that we have a large enough size email address. And now this has an option for your emails to sort of automatically clean them up for you. So that's something that you're going to want to think about on your own, how you want to do that. But basically, when your inbox reaches 250 messages, it's automatically going to archive them. Or if the message has been sitting in there for more than 45 days, it's automatically going to archive them. So these are settings that you can change. It's going to keep those emails as long as you have space on your mailbox, which you should have plenty of space. But it's going to just automatically archive those for you. And you can choose to have whether you want it to automatically archive unread messages, and then which folder it's going to archive those messages to. So in this case, it's old messages. You can change that if you'd like. Then go ahead and create address. Now we've got this set up, and we've got our total mailbox size at 25 gigabytes. That's what this is showing right here. And now let's go ahead and just create one more standard email address like this, and we'll just show you how that works. And just the reason why I wanted to show you a second email address is you'll see down here that you have a choice of how much disk space you would like this account to have. So I would definitely recommend making it at least 2,000 megabytes, that's 2 gigabytes, but you might want to make it like 10,000 megabytes, just so you have plenty of space for your email down the road. So let's call this one info. You can give it a name, give it a password, and then of course make sure you set this to something higher. I think that 10,000 megabytes is good. And then we've got the same settings here about removing email, and then we can click create address. Okay, so now I've got two sort of standard email inboxes. They're both accessible, and we've got the email setup information over here, so you can use your email client to check mail. You definitely want to use the IMAP settings here, because that's going to make sure that your mail stays on the DreamHost server, and that's going to be great for when in the future you move to a different mail service, or if you decide to move to a different mail service, you'll have all the email on your server, and you can transfer all of that email to the new mail service, and you don't have to worry about whether it's downloaded on this device or that device. It's all going to stay on the server. So that's sort of the basics of the email setup, and it's pretty easy and straightforward, as you can see here, to set up professional email using DreamHost. You can also access webmail, so you can just go to a web browser, and you're going to go to, as we can see here, webmail. Whatever your domain name is. So in my example, it's webmail.cookingtimewithtym.com, and you're going to be able to check your email there, and you're going to be able to sign in using the credentials that you created when you created your email addresses. Okay, and then so the last thing we need to do here is to get an SSL certificate, and what that does is it creates this little key lock here. What it does is basically it encrypts the information between our website and the people who are viewing our website, and it's something that basically is required to be able to rank on Google, or to also just not get that error message that says this site may not be secure. I don't know if you've ever seen that. So let's go ahead and quickly add that to our domain. So in order to do that, we're going to go over here to domains, and then we're going to click on SSL certificates. That's a funny way of saying it. And then we're going to add an SSL certificate to that domain that we just signed up for. So click add. And you can use a paid one, or I always just use the free one right here from Let's Encrypt. So we're going to go ahead and select this certificate. And then that should take care of it. The next thing we're going to do is set up WordPress. There's a small chance that you'll have an issue with the SSL certificate not being fully activated yet when we start WordPress. If that happens, if you see that issue, all you have to do is just wait 30 to 40 minutes and then continue with the WordPress installation. Okay, now just a note, something that I've discovered in testing this tutorial here is that sometimes the SSL certificate can take 30 to 40 minutes to fully get activated on your site, and during that time you might see an error message when we go into the WordPress segment of this tutorial where it says something like this site could be hazardous, or the site might be dangerous, something like that. If you do see that, you just want to take a break for 30 or 40 minutes, let that SSL certificate fully get set up on your website, and then come back to it. So this might be a good time to take a break if you're looking for a spot to take a break. Okay, so now let's go back and let's see how our website's doing and if WordPress is all set up. And so WordPress here is all set up, so let's go ahead and log into WordPress and start learning about how to use WordPress. The first way you're going to be able to log into your WordPress dashboard is by clicking here and clicking the Open the WordPress Editor. And then I'm going to show you the second way that you can log into your WordPress website, and that's kind of the more normal way, and that is by going to your domain name /WP admin. But in order to do that, we're going to need to make our own login for this website instead of using the default login that was created by DreamHost. So to do that, we're going to go over here to Users. And this is where you'll see all of the users that have been created for your website. So this initial user here is the user that was generated automatically by DreamHost, which allows us to log in from our DreamHost dashboard over here. But let's create kind of a more normal user, and we'll also set it to the administration role, which allows us to change all of the settings on our website. And so in order to do that, we're going to click up here on Add New. And we're going to give it a username. So this username could be a display name. Maybe it's going to be the name of your website, like Cooking Time with Tim, or maybe the same name or similar name to what you use on your social media for your username. It doesn't really matter here. You can churn on whether the username displays or whether your full name displays on your website. So for this, I'm going to use Cooking with Tim. We're going to give it an email address. I'm going to use the email address that I created for this domain name because I'm also going to link that to my Jetpack installation when I get that. I'm going to link that to my Gravatar. So when I'm posting on my website and when I'm setting up or commenting on other people's websites, the websites that use Gravatar will show my avatar on those websites. And it sort of, Gravatar is kind of like a universal way of having your profile picture show up on lots of different sources, mostly WordPress websites, but some other places too. So it's a good thing to set up, and I'm going to show you guys how to set that up later on when we set up Jetpack. Okay, so the email for this that I've created is tim at, and then just type in your first name and last name as you want it to display, and this you can use this to display on the byline of your blog post if you want. And since my website is Cooking Time with Tim, I'm going to put that in here. Cooking Time with Tim, and then we need to create a password here. Put that password in there. And since this is for me, I don't need to send an email about it, but I'll show you guys what that email looks like, because that way if you're having other people help you with your site, you can see what that email looks like. And in this case, since it's for me, I'm going to set this to an administrator, and that's going to give me full rights to change anything that I need to change on the website, which is what I want to be able to do. And then we'll click Add New User. So if we go over to the email that our website has sent us, it will show us our username, a link where we can change our password if we would like, and also the link where we will log into our WordPress website, which in my case is cookingtimewithtim.com/WP-login. And yours will be pretty much the same, except for the URL will be whatever the URL you created, /WP-login. Okay, so now let's go ahead and log into our website sort of the normal way, or the way that most people log into their WordPress websites. So we're going to log out, and then we're going to go to www.cookingtimewithtim.com. And so this is our home page that we have right now because we haven't set anything up. And then we're going to go to /wp-admin. Now we get this login thing here where we can enter in either the username or email address that we created that new user with. And I'm just going to autofill it using LastPass. I definitely recommend using LastPass or another password manager when you're starting a website, because there's going to be so many different accounts that you're going to need to create, and you want to use a different unique password for each account. It's one way to help prevent your website and your accounts from getting hacked, is by using a different password on each account. So I use my email address that I signed up for that account with and my password. I'm just going to go ahead and log in. Okay, so now let's go ahead and sort of do an overview of the WordPress dashboard, and I'll show you guys how to change some of the basic settings and just make sure that your website is set up in a way that's going to help you get started. So the first screen we see here when we log into the back end of our website is the dashboard, and this has various different tiles that you can show you various different information. And so right now I've got this WP Forms plugin installed, so this creates a tile, and different themes and different plugins may have different tiles here. You can change what you want to display here by going to the screen options here on the top right, and then you can decide which items show up here. I'm going to add the WordPress welcome. It's got some nice, quick, easy shortcuts for our website, so we can add that in there, and we can turn off anything that we don't want to see. So like the WordPress news and events, I'm not particularly interested in going to any of those, so I'm just going to turn that off. That's sort of an overview of what you can do here on the main dashboard page. You'll also see here that we've got an updates button, and it's showing that we have 2 updates to do on our website. And so if you click on updates, and this is something you should regularly be doing on your website. And so if you did want to update all of these things, you can do that simply by clicking here and then click update plugins, and it's going to go ahead and automatically update both of those here, or not automatically, but manually update them right here. So it's an important thing to look at. And then let's look at posts real quick. This is where we're going to create new posts. So if you wanted to create a new post, you can click up here and click Add New. I'm going to go into more detail in another section here about exactly how to create a post. You can also do a quick edit of a post, and this allows you to edit some of the basic things about a post really quickly. So you can edit the time and date, you can change the author, so if we want to change it to that other name that I created or the other login, we can change that here. You can add a password to this post, so only people with a password can log in. And then we can change the category, and I'll show you in a minute how to add categories. And we can change the default and add tags. And then if you don't want to save those changes, you can click cancel. And if you do want to save those changes, you can click update over here. So now let's go ahead and take a look at how to add categories, because it's going to come in handy when we look at some of the other settings on our website later on here. So for categories, it's very simple. To add a new category, you just give it a name here. And so for this example here, I'm creating a food blog, recipe blog website. So one of the categories I should probably have is recipe. There we go. And we're going to change that so that the default is now going to be recipe instead of uncategorized, because uncategorized just doesn't seem very appealing. You can also nest categories. So if you wanted to have recipes and then underneath that you wanted to have specific types of recipes like Italian recipes or French recipes, you could do that and those would show up underneath. You can give your category a little description. Some themes, the description will show up and it will show up right on that category page, and other themes it won't. So for now, I'm just going to ignore that. Depending on your theme, you may want to change that and put some information in there. Go ahead and add new category. There we go. And now we've got two categories here. We've got uncategorized and recipe. And if you already know some of the categories that you want to add for your website, you can go ahead and just start adding them in here. You can also add new categories and create new categories right when you're creating your blog posts, and I'll show you how to do that later. We can add some tags here too. Tags are another way of organizing your blog posts. So for example, I might do gluten-free as a tag, and then we'll do add new tag. So these are the two different ways that you can use to organize your blog posts and help your viewers find the different types of content that they're looking for on your website. Okay, under media here is where all of the uploaded content that we're going to find will be. So when we upload our featured images or the images for our blog posts or anything like that, all of those things are going to show up here as we add them to our website. Pages, very similar to blog posts, pretty much almost exactly the same thing. And this is how you add a new page to your website. And we'll talk a little bit about the privacy policy page later on. Comments is where all the new comments for your website will show up. This is kind of the default comment added by WordPress when you first install it. And now we'll see here that there's this WP Forms item on our dashboard, and some plugins and some themes will add their settings to as an item here on your dashboard. So that's something to keep in mind. Some themes and some settings will also put their settings here under settings. So you can see the WP Super Cache plugin that I have added in has a setting down here. So those are two different places that you might find the settings for either your themes or your plugins, depending on the theme or the plugin. Under appearance, this is where we can add a new theme or change themes, and I'll show you later on how to add a theme. But for right now, let's just get rid of this 2020 default theme. I'm sure it's a perfectly good theme. I just don't need any reminders of 2020 on my website. So to do that, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to activate another theme. So some of the standard WordPress installed themes on our website, just in case you need to do any troubleshooting of your website. So most of the WordPress themes are 20-something themes, like there's 2017, here's 2019. So I'm going to go ahead and activate the 2019 theme. That's going to change the look of our website, and it's going to make it look like the 2019 theme here. And then we can go ahead and find that 2020 theme, and to delete a theme, we just click on it, and then we click the little delete button here. And I would definitely recommend only having basically your main theme and maybe one or two of these sort of default WordPress themes installed. We want to keep our website as clean as possible, and we don't want to have anything extra on there, just because later on it can lead to frustrations with all of these things needing to be updated, and also having items on our website that aren't fully updated or that we're not paying attention to can potentially be a security risk later on. So definitely I'm going to go through and delete all of these except for probably the 2019 theme and the 2017 theme, and then of course the theme that we're going to add later on. And it's just good practice on your WordPress website to keep it as minimalist as possible and only have the things that you really need on your website. And that goes for both themes and plugins. This customize button here allows you to change the look of your website, and we'll look at that later on. Widgets allow you to add sort of these different types of content blocks to various different parts of your website. Most themes have a sidebar. This theme does not, and we're going to go into more detail on that. But this theme has a place in the footer for the widgets, and we can just take a quick look at what that looks like. So see the front end of our website. If we scroll down here, this here is actually the whole footer area because there's no content on the website right now. So we're seeing the search box, recent posts, archives, and all of those things are the things here that we're finding in this widget section. And so to remove a widget, you can click on it here and click delete. And to add a widget, you can either drag it in like this, or you can actually push down on this little arrow here and select which widget area you would like to add it to. In this case, there's only one widget area available, but some themes have multiple widget areas where you can just choose from right here. This little drop-down arrow is really handy once you have a lot of widgets, and depending on the theme that you have or the plugins that you have, you might have more widgets to add to different widget areas. Menus here is where we can create sort of like the main menu for a website, as well as put menus in other areas depending on your theme that you have. So there's sort of the primary menu area and the footer menu area. And after we add some content to our website, I'm going to show you exactly how to create a menu and how to organize it and things like that on your website. And we'll look at specifically how to create menus a little bit later. Theme editor is if you want to adjust the code of your website. So we're not going to get into that at all. We're just going to keep this as simple as possible. Plugins, here is where you can add different plugins or remove plugins. And again, you should keep your website as minimalist as possible and only have the plugins that you need. I'm going to leave the WP Supercache plugin because that's something that was recommended by DreamHost to keep our website running fast, and I think it's a good thing. And the WP Forms plugin is something that can be helpful. I'm going to leave it there for now. But if you do want to remove a plugin that is active, all you have to do is first deactivate it, just like this, and then click delete. And that's how you get rid of a plugin that you don't need. And the Hello Dolly plugin is pretty much useless. It comes with every WordPress install. I'm not too sure why. I think maybe just for tutorial videos so we can show you how to delete things from the plugins that are completely useless. Okay, so we've already looked at users because we've created a new user, so there's that. Tools, this is where you can import or export data, like if you have blog posts from another website, you can import them there. We're not going to go into that in this tutorial. And then settings, there's a few different settings that we're going to want to adjust on our website. So here under General, the first thing that we're going to want to do is to give our website a site title. So probably the name of your website. So in my example here, it's Cooking Time with Tim. So my tagline is just, quick explanation about what your website's about. So there we go. So we're added that here. And then this information here is going to show up in the title area of our website. And this is something that search engines look for to try to kind of get an understanding of what your website's about. You don't want to stuff this with keywords, but you do want to have a short, brief description of what your website's about, because it's going to show up here in this title area. So instead of saying just another WordPress website and just another WordPress website, it's going to say Cooking Time with Tim right here, and then helping people easily create a website right there. And the administration email is the email that your website's going to send email out for. So this is mostly going to be used when your website is communicating with you. This membership button here is basically if you're creating a membership website. I wouldn't change any of these settings here. You definitely don't want to allow anyone to register unless you have some robust security and you're really looking for and watching what people are doing on your website. Even though a subscriber role as the default role can't really do much to your website, it can be just a real hassle having a lot of spam people creating spam accounts on your website. So I definitely would not turn that on. I would leave that off. Here's where you can change your site language, so the main language used here on the back end of your website. You can change the time zone and the date and time format. And of course, for all of those changes to take place, we want to click Save Changes. And then just to show that those changes have changed, we can go here, we can hit Refresh, so I just have another tab open, And in this case, we have cache on our website, so you might sometimes have to delete the cache, and that's what this button here is for. And now we can see we've got the cooking time with Tim up here, helping people easily create a website. And this delete cache button here was added by the WP Cache plugin that was added by DreamHost. So that's what this button does. And usually this fresh version happens automatically after a few minutes. Sometimes, if you're in a hurry and you're just looking for the changes that you've made, you just want to hit this delete cache button to sort of force that change to happen immediately. All right, so let's go back to our general settings here. Then under writing, we can change our default post now to recipes, because that's much more interesting than uncategorized. And basically, I think that your default post is just there in case you forget to add a category to your post. You should try to remember to do that because it does help with the organization of your website. But, we all have those slip-ups, but I think it's definitely better to have recipe than it is to have uncategorized. Default post format is going to kind of depend on the theme that you have and what you want. Standard is fine for most people, and these settings here are fine for most people. So we're just going to do save changes so that it saves the default post category change that we made. And then here under reading, since this is going to be a blog website, I already know that I want my latest posts to show up. So that means every time I create a post, it's going to show up right on my homepage. But if you're making a different kind of website, if you're not making a blog and you want to have a static page that you're going to create, you can change this over to a static page. But obviously, you'd need to create some pages first before you can do that, and then you can select which page is your home page and basically which page is your post page or your blog page here. I'd also suggest setting your blog feed to show a summary. That way it's not showing the full text of your blog on your home page. It's showing the sort of read more link down below that in a short description. And this discourage search engines from indexing the site is something you definitely want off. I assume that you want your site to be discovered, so you do want search engines to index your site, so we'll make sure that that's off. And then we'll click Save Changes again. And then here under discussion, I think that most of these settings here are fine. The one thing I might change is to hold a comment for moderation if it has more than one link in it, because chances are if somebody is writing a spam comment, they're going to have a link in their spam comment that goes to who knows where. And so we just want to set that to 1, and that way we get notified of the comment before it gets posted to our website. We also have this setting here to email me whenever anyone posts a comment or a comment is held for moderation. So anytime you get a comment to your website, you're automatically going to get emailed about it to that administration email that we saw earlier on. There's some other settings here you can do to sort of control which comments show up. And then down here, we've got avatars, and these avatars show up when our users make comments on our blog. We've got and it's going to pull these avatars from Gravatar, which I'll show you how to set up later on if you haven't set that up already. And I don't know what all of these other icons here are all about. I wouldn't use any of these as the default. I would either use mystery person or blank as the default. I think that just makes the most sense. And then we can click Save Changes here. And then under Media, there's not much here. I think that leaving these settings as the basic settings, I think is fine. And this next setting is probably the most important setting to make sure you have right on your website, and that is the permalinks. And this is what the format is going to be of your blog pages and blog post links. And we want to use post name here. So that means it's going to be your URL / slug of your web page or blog post. So if you made a post, for example, that was called pasta recipe, chances are that the slug, and you can edit this, but chances are that the slug would automatically be generated as pasta-recipe. And for one thing, that's easier to tell people. So if you're like, oh, if you want to find my pasta recipe, you can go to cookingtimewithtim.com/pasta-recipe. And it's also something that helps your search engine optimization because it sort of makes that very clear wording so that Google and other search engines know a little bit more about what this page is about. So we definitely want to make sure that post name is clicked here and that we click Save Changes there. And then the last thing here is the privacy setting. I can't really go into much detail about this because really you should be advised by an attorney. But what I can say about it is that WordPress, once you have all of your plugins installed, attempts to get information about how those plugins and how your website in general are using other people's information, and it attempts to make up sort of a little write-up about each of those items and places it into a privacy policy page. It's not something I would worry about, within the first 4 or 5 months of creating your website. I don't think you're going to have a problem with that. But later on down the road, as your website gets more serious, you definitely want to have somebody help you create a proper privacy policy for your website. So that was a quick introduction to WordPress and the WordPress dashboard. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a plugin called Jetpack. Jetpack does a lot of awesome things for us. It's kind of like this all-in-one plugin. It's actually made by the people behind WordPress, and we're going to use the free version of Jetpack, but I definitely recommend sort of the professional version of Jetpack maybe later on. And the best way to get the professional version of Jetpack is actually to use the DreamPress hosting, and I'll include a link up at the top of the video and down below about DreamPress. It is definitely more expensive. It's $25 a month, but it's professional WordPress hosting and a great way if you're ready to take your website to the next level to do that. And then you get Jetpack included in that. And actually, if you look at the pricing of Jetpack, Jetpack Professional is $25 on its own. So you're basically either look at it as you're paying for Jetpack and getting free hosting, or you're paying for hosting and getting free Jetpack. Either way, I think it's a really good deal, and that's actually what I use on my website, is I use the DreamPress with the professional Jetpack, so I really like that. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to set up something called Gravatar, and Gravatar is something also set up, I believe, by the makers of WordPress. And what it is that when you're commenting on someone else's blog, for example, if you type in your email address, it's automatically going to pull your Gravatar or your avatar or your picture and use that in the post. And so we're going to use that actually on our website for our little About widget. It's going to pull that image from Gravatar. So I'm going to show you exactly how to set up Gravatar. And that's also going to give you more of a professional look when you're out there looking at other people's blogs and you're commenting on it. It's going to show, your picture, or if you want to have your logo, whatever you want in there, it's going to show up. So it's kind of a great little hint to make your website look a little bit more professional and make your online presence also look a little bit more professional. So let's go ahead and see how we set that up. So the first thing that we're going to need to do here is we're going to need to go to the dashboard of our website. We're going to go to Plugins and Installed Plugins. We're going to make sure that Jetpack has the most recent versions. We're going to click Update Now here. And if for some reason you don't have Jetpack already installed, you can always add it. Just go up here to the top, click Add New. And then it probably will just show up right here, but if it doesn't, you can just type in and search for Jetpack right here. And then we're going to click Activate. I'm going to click on Set Up Jetpack. And I'm going to set up a username. And I'm going to create a password. And we're going to go ahead and create our account. And I'm using LastPass to manage my passwords, so I'm going to go ahead and save this password there. Definitely, again, recommend having a password manager. And now it is attempting to connect Jetpack and its features with our website. And we don't want to do the Jetpack Complete plan because holy cow, is that expensive. Again, this is where having DreamPress can save you quite a bit of money. So let's click on Edit. Let's click here to remove this plan because that's not the plan we want at all. Okay, so we just close out of this. We go to My Plan. You'll see that we have the free plan here, and this is going to show us the stats for our website. We're now on WordPress.com, and we're logged into WordPress.com. And we can do actually some management of our website from here. We can also log into the back end of our website from here by going to WP Admin. So now it's basically created, so what WordPress has done here is it's created a WordPress.com account for us. So it's another way we can log in by logging into WordPress.com. It'll show us our WordPress dashboard that we just saw, and it'll allow us to log into our website. Now if we click here to the main dashboard of our website, we can see here that we've got these stats from Jetpack. This is definitely something I like to have kind of up at the top here. We don't have anything yet, but as you start adding content to your website and start getting traffic, you'll see some of that traffic show up here, and you can click on View All Stats, and it'll take us back to our WordPress WordPress.com account. And here it will show you the number of views, the number of visitors to your website. So just really easy to use the stats for our website. So that's basically how you install Jetpack for free. Definitely recommend if you have the money to get DreamPress, which is something like $25 or $26 a month. You get the professional version of Jetpack for free, which includes things like the anti-spam, the better scheduling, another way of backing up your website to a separate place rather than just relying on the backups from DreamHost themselves. Just a lot of great features that are definitely worthwhile. But this is sort of a great way to get started inexpensively. Okay, and then the last thing we want to do with Jetpack is we want to click Activate here to activate that site speed boost, which is going to add our images to this global content delivery network, and it's also going to help to compress the images on our website so that they load faster for our viewers. And you want to make sure that this protect is turned on, which is going to help keep hackers from attempting to log into our website. Sort of basically just keeps like this brute force attack from happening on our website, so that's a really good thing. And we want to turn on this image accelerator, and that's what's going to adjust the image size to sort of optimize the size of our images so that they load faster for our viewers. And there we go. Now we've got Jetpack fully set up and ready to go. So next thing, let us go ahead and set up our Gravatar, which should actually automatically change this icon here. So let's go ahead and try that. So let's go ahead and go to gravatar.com, gravatar.com, and then we can actually sign in with our WordPress.com account that we just created. And we can say approve. And then we can confirm this by going to our email. So if you're using the email that we set up with our DreamHost account, we can go to webmail and then your URL that you created. So my example is cookingtimewithtim.com. And then we can activate our Jetpack account. We got the free plan and we have our email confirmed, so that is all set up now. And then we can go back to gravatar.com. If you got logged out, you can sign back in using your WordPress account. And then we can add a new image here. So we can upload a new image. So I'm going to go ahead and select this image here, then click Next. We can kind of reframe it if we want. So I'll do this. And we can select Crop Image. And then we can set our rating, so I think this is a pretty G rating here. And there we go. Now if we go over to WordPress.com and we hit refresh on our page, you should see that our Gravatar shows up here. There it is. So you can see this has automatically been added, and now whenever we comment on a WordPress website, and in some cases some other websites, you will see your headshot or avatar here automatically show up. It's kind of a great way of easily making your social media posts or your posts on different blogs show up and look professional. And here under my profile, you can add your name in also. So that way it'll also show up on posts that you make. And we can click Save Profile Details. You can add a little bit about yourself if you want to here. It's just another great way of getting sort of the information about you and what you're doing with your blog out there. So next up, we're going to install our theme for making our food blog website. So now the next thing we want to do is install our theme, which is going to help us create a great looking food blog website. So the first thing we need to do is to buy and get that theme. And if you're watching this video on YouTube and you want to help to support the channel and this free tutorial, you can use the link that I've included to the Footica theme down below, and you can go ahead and click on that. And that will take you to the Footica website where you can go ahead and buy the Footica theme. I've already bought the theme, so after you buy the theme, I'll show you where you will end up. Okay, so once you've bought the Footica theme, you should end up someplace around here. So what you want to do is you want to scroll down here and click under your downloads and click the download button. Now I bought the full plan for WPZOOM because that's what I do is I test different themes, and so I figured, hey, I should go ahead and try the different themes that they have to offer. I also think it's kind of a good deal, 99 bucks. If I change my mind later on which theme I want to use, I can go ahead and do that. So if you just bought the Futica theme, you should only have the Futica theme here. If you bought all of them like I did, you'll have all of them here. But what you want to do is you just want to download the theme. They say that both of these themes are actually exactly the same. It doesn't matter. I like to use the Futica Pro version of it just to differentiate it from the free version of Futica. So go ahead and click download to download that. And that's going to download that theme file, and typically that will go into your downloads folder on your computer. If you have a Mac, it will most likely go to your downloads folder, and I think it should be the same thing on a Windows computer also. Then we can go back to the dashboard of our website, and we can click over here to Appearance, and then go over to Themes, and then we want to click Add New at the top, and then we want to click on this Upload Theme button. That's going to allow us to manually upload our own theme, and that's almost all paid themes. This is how you activate and upload a theme, is doing it this way. So we're going to click on Upload Theme, and then we're going to choose the file from our computer. I've got it in the Downloads folder. And yours should just say Futica Pro. Mine says Futica Pro 3 because I've downloaded the theme several times. And then you want to leave the file zipped. It's really important. If your file got unzipped, you need to either re-zip it or re-download. It will not work if it is not a zipped file. So make sure that your file is zipped, and then we're going to click Choose here. And now we're going to click Install Now. And that's going to add the Futica theme to our website. And just give it a few moments to do that. Then you should wind up with a page like this. And since we want to use this theme on our website, we want to click Activate. And now we have it activated. They've got a little walkthrough theme tour, which you can choose to do. I'm going to close it because I'm going to walk you through everything. Now is also a really good time to go ahead and put in your license key because it's right here. We don't need to go and look for where to add it in later. And what this allows you to do is allows you to get the one-click theme updates. So basically you can just really quickly get the theme updates without having to re-upload the file. So to do that, we're going to go back to our WPZOOM page here, or log back into WPZOOM if you've logged out. Then we go to My Account, Licenses. And then you should have this license code here that you can just copy. Just like that, just highlight it and copy it. Then we'll go back to our website here, and we can just enter in that license key right now and just get that out of the way. Click Save, and we'll click Activate License. There we go. And now you might want to deactivate the license if you have a limited number of licenses like I have. I only have 3. You may want to deactivate it if you want to move it to a different website, for example, something like that. Okay, now let's just sort of go ahead and take care of some of these things that the theme is reminding us about up here at the top. One of the things is they want to track how you're using the theme. I'm going to say don't allow. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to install the plugins that are recommended by this theme, and some of them are excellent, like this recipe card block, which is going to help us create our recipes on our website in a way that is more friendly for search engines, so the search engines can know that the post that you've created is about a recipe, and it also has some of that information about the recipe for Google that it can potentially use to highlight your recipe on Google search. It's not a guarantee, but it's something that could be used by Google to highlight your recipe. So hey, why not take that chance and be able to do that? Let's just go ahead and we'll click here on Begin Installing Plugins. And the ones I recommend installing are the recipe card block, the Instagram widget if you have Instagram and you want to show some of your Instagram images on your website. MailPoet I don't recommend installing. I use MailChimp, so that's why, but this is a way of creating an email mailing list and being able to send out an email newsletters to your viewers, but I prefer to use MailChimp for that, so I'm going to leave that off. You don't need the rating widget star system. Okay, and then the final one that I would recommend installing is this social icons widget by WPZoom. So we're going to click here to bulk actions, we're going to click install, and now it's going to install the ones that we have selected here. I'm going to click apply. I know that there's a lot going on here, and there's a lot of settings that we've had to deal with so far, but I promise you that once we get all of this configured, all of this set up, that you can do what you're good at, which is focusing on creating your content. And that's what I'm here to help you do, is help you kind of get through all of this messy settings things so you can focus on what you're good at and what you're trying to do, which is make some great content. All right, so I hope that you guys are enjoying the tutorial so far, and if you are, it would really mean a lot to me if you would give me a thumbs up, give a comment down below about how it's going for you so far. All those kind of things really help to encourage me, and it makes me feel like making these tutorials and giving them out for free is worthwhile. So I definitely really appreciate that. And now let's go ahead and continue making this website. Okay, so now we've got all of those installed. We need to activate those next. So if we go over here to plugins, installed plugins, and then we can either do a bulk action and select those plugins that we just installed. So the recipe card plugin, the social icons plugin, and the Instagram widget. And we can get a bulk actions activate. Or you can also click the activate button underneath each one. I'm going to do it in a bulk, so I'll just click apply. It's going to activate those plugins. It's going to make them so that they work on our website. Okay, so now we have done that. And since we're not going to use any of these other recommended plugins, we can go ahead and just click dismiss this notice so that it stops reminding us to do that. And while we're at it, so we can make this notification here go away, we can go ahead and configure our Instagram widget. So we can click on the settings page here. And you should be able to use it with this public feed. Basically, you just enter in your username and it should show it. I was not able to get that to work at all, so I'm using the API method, which connects us to the WPZoom website, which then helps us to get our API access token. So it's really easy to do. Just go ahead and click connect with Instagram, and you're giving permission for this widget from WPZoom to access your Instagram account. So if that's something you're not comfortable with, definitely don't do it. I'm fine with that, but it's something you need to decide on for yourself. Will say, though, it makes it extremely easy to connect it and just get it up and running and working. So we're going to click on continue. And it's going to automatically copy in that access token for us. And then at the bottom here, we just need to click Save Changes. And this is how often it's going to look for new Instagram posts. So if you post a lot on Instagram, you might want to change that to hours or minutes. Just know that that's going to affect the performance of your website. I think that every one day should be fine for most people. Your website doesn't need to have the most up-to-date Instagram post on there. If it comes up the next day, that's going to be totally fine. Okay, and then we're going to click Save Changes here. Now we can click back here just to go to the main dashboard. It's still showing us this message, but since we know we've already connected the Instagram widget, we can go ahead and just close this. And the next thing here that they're recommending that we do, and what you should do, is disable the structured data markup, because we're going to use the recipe card plugin instead. So go ahead and click on that, and it's going to take us right to the correct setting. And the setting here, just so you know, as I said before, some themes and some plugins will install an item on your dashboard. In this case, WPZoom has added a item on our dashboard for modifying the Fudica theme. So it's automatically taking us to the WPZoom theme options general and then structured data, where we can go ahead and turn off the structured data because we're going to use the recipe card from the recipe card plugin instead. So go ahead and save all changes here. Okay, so we are well on our way to getting this going. Just a few more things that I recommend that we set up. So the next thing is that if you look at our homepage now, and to view the homepage of your website or to view your site, you can just click here on this button here or click on the Visit Site button. And we will now see that we have changed our theme and we're seeing what it looks like now. Now don't worry, this isn't going to show up to your viewers. This is just because you're logged into the back end of your website. But I think the best way to configure the Footica theme is by actually using their demo content. So you can sort of see what you're doing without having to have a lot of content already on your website. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go back to our dashboard here. We're going to go to the WPZOOM options. And under theme options here, we're going to click on import export. And then we're going to click on this demo content button here. And then we're going to load the demo content. And once we're done sort of configuring the theme, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how the different ways that I recommend configuring the theme, we're going to be able to delete all this content and actually start adding in our own content. Just give it a few moments to install all of that demo content. Okay, so and then after a few moments, you'll wind up with this page here, and then we can just click on the next step. Regenerating the thumbnails is going to make it so that we can change the aspect ratio of it. So we're going to go ahead and say next step and allow it to do that. And it'll take a few moments for it to process that information. Okay, so that takes a little bit of time, but it should be all set up. And then we can click next. We can load the default widgets, which will put the widgets in the areas that they recommend for us. And I think that's fine. You can see how that looks. And then we can decide on which locations we want the menu in. And so part of the demo content is that they've actually created menus for us so we can see what that looks like. So we'll go ahead and just place the menus in their recommended areas so that you can see what that looks like. So we go with the top for the top, main menu for the main menu for the mobile menu, footer menu, and then the recipe index. And then we can click next step. And you want this to show your latest posts because this is a blog, and so on our home page it's going to show our latest posts. So go ahead and click next step. And installing a child theme is optional. You'd want to do this if you plan on making changes to the code of your website. If you don't plan on making changes to the code of your website, this basically kind of can become a pain in the neck for you. So I'd recommend if you're just a beginner and you're just starting out that you leave this alone. Later on, you can add a child theme or create a child theme if you want to make changes to the code of your website. So we're going to go ahead and do skip this step. And we're going to go ahead and close this. There we go. Now, one other thing that I recommend and something that I always do when I'm making modifications to the look of my WordPress website is because you can't really see what you're doing from the back end of your website here, from the dashboard. I like to open up another tab, so you can push Command T. That's going to create a new tab in your browser. And if you're on a Windows computer, it should be Control T. And then you just want to type in the URL for your website. So mine is Cooking Time with Tim. And that's going to load our website with all of the demo content here. And now we can easily go back and forth between the back end of our website and the front end to see what changes have been made. And whenever you make changes, you just want to hit that refresh button up here to see what those changes look like. And also, if you don't see a change that you know you've made happen, you might want to hit this delete cache button just to make sure that that change shows up here. Okay, so one of the first things that we want to turn off, which I don't actually see here, but is the shopping cart button, or we're going to make sure the shopping cart button is turned off because we don't have WooCommerce and we don't have an online store on this website. And you can have an online store with WooCommerce, but if you're just one or two people and you're not a programmer or developer, I wouldn't really recommend using WordPress and WooCommerce for creating an online store. You're going to have much better luck and much better support using Shopify. Shopify is what I chose to make the online store that I made with, just because I know that not only for me, but for the people who are actually running the store, that when they need help, they can contact Shopify, and they can also contact all of the suppliers that make the add-ons for Shopify and get really good results at getting help. So that's why I recommend, for keeping your life easy, if you want to have an online store, use Shopify. And if you're interested in that, I have a review of Shopify that shows you the pros and cons, but I'm definitely a big fan of Shopify for keeping your life simple and being able to make an online store super easily without much hassle. So let's go back to the back end. We're going to click on the tab to go back to our dashboard. We're going to go over here to General, and under Theme Settings, We're going to turn off the display WooCommerce cart button in the header, and we're going to click Save Changes there. And now let's take a look at some of the home page settings. So here again, under General, we're going to go here to where it says Home Page. And one of the options here is if you're using, for example, the homepage slider, which if we go back to our website, is this thing here, which I'm actually not that big of a fan of, so I'm probably going to take that off, and I'll show you how to do that. But if this is showing your recent posts, you may want to hide the recent posts from the rest of your blog feed down here so you don't have a duplication of the content showing on your website. Probably doesn't matter that much, but that is what this option here is for under recent posts. Next we have the homepage slideshow. So this is how you remove this homepage slideshow from the homepage of your website, which I recommend doing. I don't particularly think that slideshows offer that much, but it can be kind of nice to have like one nice big splash image on the top of your website, and it's pulling this image from the featured image on your blog post, and we're going to look into how to make blog posts a little bit later on, but we're sort of first going to design what we want the homepage of our website to look like, and I'm sort of going to show you the options of what your homepage can look like. So to remove that, we're going to click here we're going to uncheck the display homepage slideshow. And none of these things matter. These are settings for that homepage slideshow, and we're going to click Save All Changes. And if we go back to the homepage of our website and we click Refresh, and we click Refresh, let's go ahead and delete cache. There we go. So I had to delete the cache, but now that's made that go away. Now what we have showing here is this widget area where we're using 3 of these image widget cards that were created by WPZOOM. I think that this is actually a pretty nice look here, especially if you're just starting out, if you've got different pages that you want your visitors to go to. And we'll look at how you can change these out in just a little bit here. One of the other homepage settings, if we go back to WPZOOM here and we click on homepage, click on General and then Homepage Posts. We've got options for how we want our images to display, whether we want them landscape, so wide, or portrait, so tall. If we click Save All Changes here, we go back to our website and we hit Refresh, or delete cache if the refresh doesn't work. You'll see now that the images on our blog posts are sort of the tall version of the images. And let's go ahead and get rid of this Hello World post that was sort of the default added in when we started our website. So to do that, we're going to go back to our backend. I'm going to go click on the tab that I have the backend open with. I'm going to go to Posts, All Posts, and I'm just going to go ahead and click Trash on that Hello World post. There we go. Now if we go back here and we click Refresh, and we scroll down, now we've got just the demo posts that were created by Fudico or the WPZOOM look. Okay, going back here to the settings for our website, we can go here to WPZOOM, and then under General, Homepage Posts where we were, we can also decide how long we want the excerpt to be, so that's sort of like the short part of the post here that's showing here, so how many characters we want this to be before it shows the continue reading button. If we want to display the featured image, which we do because that's sort of what gives our website that color and that look, and this here is what the featured image is here, so we definitely want to show that. And then we can choose whether we want to display the category, and so this here is showing what the category is, and I think that's a good idea. I think it's a nice look to it. And we can also decide what of this metadata we want to show, whether we want to show the date and the comments or not. And you can turn that off here by turning off the date and time and turning off the comment count. So I definitely think you should turn off the comment count in particular, but probably the date and time also until your blog has gotten some more traction, or maybe just leave it off in general. And you can display the author, so if you have multiple different authors on your website, that might be a good thing to do. I think most of us bloggers are probably the only ones making the website and creating all the content. There's no real point in displaying the author. And the sticky post option here that's what's showing up here is this sticky post. And what a sticky post is something that you flag to say that you want this to show up at the top of your blog. And you can have multiple items here. I think it does look best with just one item. So it'd probably be like one of your more popular recipes that you want people to see who, maybe are coming to your website and going back and looking at the home page because they found a deeper link for a specific recipe and they're like, oh, hey, who's this person about? What recipes are they all about? So this would be a good place to put one of your more popular posts. And so that's what this sticky post information here options are about. And I think the display read more button on all posts is a good thing to have, so let's go ahead and save those changes that we've made there. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to start looking at the widget areas of our website and adding and styling our homepage with those widget areas. So here we've got this widget area here, also our sidebar here. These are all widgets in a sidebar widget area. Let's go ahead and look at how we edit that. So back on the dashboard of our website, we're going to go to Appearances, Widgets, and now you'll see that a bunch more widgets have been added. There's kind of a lot of widgets and a whole bunch of widget areas, so different places where we can put this content. And the widget areas that were added by the theme are highlighted here in blue. So we've got the sidebar widget area. So this has got the author bio, about me, the social icons, etc. We can go ahead and change this about me author bio here, which is, again, what is showing up right here on the sidebar. And it's going to be the sidebar on all of the pages of our website. So if you look at one of the posts, you'll see that sidebar is showing up here. So we can change what that looks like. So, type in your name. That's sort of the recommendation thing here. And we want to use our email address here, and we need to use the email address that we used to create our Gravatar with. And the reason for that is where the picture is going to get taken from. It's going to get pulled from Gravatar. So if you've been following along with the full tutorial, then you should have that Gravatar set up. So I created my Gravatar email address with tim@cookingtimefortim.com. You can decide what image size you want, and you can add a little bit of information about yourself here. And you can decide what you want, if you want a button, and if you want that to link to another page. So if you create an about page, you can link that here. And then we're going to click Save. And of course, if you didn't want this to show up at all, you can just click Delete. So that's how you adjust that. We'll look at the social icons and some of these other items that are in our sidebar here, and we're going to do that sidebar in our final setup. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of the different ways that I like to style the home page using this theme. There are two basic looks that I like. One is kind of what I'm going to consider the full look for this website. So it's what you should have once you've had, maybe like 7 to 10 blog posts put up. I would set it up like this. And then the second look that I'll show you how to do, and that's the look we're going to use to start our blog with. That's just sort of like this minimalist look that's going to look good when you only have like 1 or 2 posts and you're just getting started. My other advice too is do not wait until you have 10 or 12 posts to put it up on your website. Get your posts up as soon as possible. People probably aren't going to be finding your website right away, but Google will be finding your website as soon as you start posting things. And the longer that your posts are up online, the better chances you have of ranking on Google. So definitely don't wait to put posts onto your website. So let's go ahead and start out with that kind of full look so you can know where you can take your website with after you've got some posts set up. So let's go back to our dashboard here, and we're here in the widget area. And what I'm going to say is right below the homepage slideshow, you use this WPZOOM carousel slider. And then here we can just select where we want it to go. And so, as I said before, the homepage below the slideshow, I think it's a good place for it. Click Add Widget. And now here we've got some different options. So I'm going to say top posts for the title. And then showing 10 posts is fine. We're going to turn off the auto scroll because I don't really think that having sliders on your homepage is that great of an idea. I think showing the navigation dots is a good idea because it just shows people that they can see more there if they choose to. Showing the category I also think is nice. Showing the date, let's turn that off. I don't generally like to show the date on blogs unless it's a very topical blog like a news blog or something like that. And then what I would suggest for once you have your website set up and you have a lot of posts is that you create a tag called best, and then you put your sort of top recipes that you want people to see when they're first discovering you in that category. But since we don't have any tags yet for our posts, we're just going to leave that blank. But I would definitely use something like best and just show off your best recipes here. So let's go ahead and just use desserts just so we can see what this looks like and you can see if it's something that you like. And then click save. And let's go back to our tab where we've got the home page of our website, and let's see if refresh works. And it does. So this is kind of what I like for a nice homepage look on this. We've got this portrait look to our featured images, which I like. And I like, the way that this widget looks with these, large title cards, and it shows the category that the post is in. And if viewers want to, they can scroll through and see the different posts. So I think it's got a nice look. It says top posts, so people know that these are your top posts. And then I do like this 3-card widget section here. If you have something to put there, like maybe the About Me thing, or maybe you want to feature certain categories. If you're like on the food blog that I'm thinking about making, I might put my gluten-free recipes here and sort of highlight them here. But it's sort of like this look to just give people different ideas about where you can go. But we got the recent post here, which I like, another place where you can highlight your sticky post here. And then just sort of the general blog feed continuing out here. Now you can see my Instagram feed is showing up. And down here at the bottom of the page, we've got another Instagram widget here that's showing up. Some other widget areas here which you can use to feature different categories on your website. So it's generally a nice look. So this is the look I think you should have maybe after you've got 10 posts or so started. And then if you're using my recommendation here of this carousel slider and you've got the best recipes tag, I would probably choose some of your recipes that are the most popular and maybe the ones that you're most proud of. And I think maybe every 3 months, set yourself like a calendar alarm to revisit that and see if you want to change that up and change up the look of your homepage or the recipes that you're featuring here. So now let's look at sort of like what I'm going to call the minimalist look, the look that I think that you should use when you're just first starting your blog. Okay, so let's go back to the back end of our website and let's set up the sort of what I'm going to call the standard look or the base look for our website for people who are just starting out, brand new to blogging, and have this as their first blog so it looks right with the minimal amount of content. So the first thing I'm going to say is actually delete this. Let's just start here, new. So the first thing I'm going to say is let's go ahead and delete that carousel slider sidebar here. So if it's not opened here, you can open it up, click delete. Let's get rid of the slider columns 1, 2, and 3 posts. We'll go ahead and delete that one. And delete the next one here. And then, when you're ready, you can add these back in, make it fit, the content for your website. But this is, I think, just how you should get started. Just real simple, basic look to your website. And also, let's see here. Homepage featured categories. So that was the section down here at the bottom, below the blog feed, where we have these different featured category sections. So since if you're just starting out, you don't have a lot of content right now, let's get rid of those here. You can always add them back later when you're ready. And these are here for the footer columns. I think that these are totally fine to put in there. The Instagram bar, we're just going to leave that alone. That was the Instagram feed that we have along the bottom of our website. Whoops. Header social icons. This is where you can control the social icons that are showing up here in the header part of your website here. So you definitely want to make sure that you set this to your accounts. So, in my example, it's real website hints. And if you're not sure what it is, go ahead and go to your Instagram or Facebook page and just double check that you've got the right settings. Don't have Pinterest, so I'm just going to delete that. And if you have a contact page that you want people to be able to contact you at, you can put that in here. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that, and then make sure you push save. Super important in WordPress. Always look down at the bottom to see where you want to push what you want to save. So we'll click save here. And let's go ahead and see what that looks like now. So you can hold down the shift key and push refresh, and that's one way of getting it to kind of reload from the beginning and not have any cache stored on your computer. And if it doesn't reload like it didn't here because it's using the cache from the server, we can just click the delete cache button up here. And so now we've got sort of the basic look that I'm sort of recommending. So we've got our updated social media icons up here. Twitter should go to my Twitter. It does. So that way people can follow you on your various different social medias from up here. We've got a recent post, so this is a sticky post, and I'll show you how to create a sticky post. This might be something you want to remove or not, but I think that it's a nice look to have sort of one big wide featured recipe here, and then your regular blog is going to start down here. And then we've got our sidebar, and when we start building our site, which we're going to do right after this, I'll show you how to set up all of these things here in the sidebar. So there we go. That's kind of how you set up the home page with the Futica theme, and a couple different ideas on how I would set it up. And this right now is how I would set it up if I'm just starting out with a brand new blog. And let's look at one more thing, and that is what the blog category pages look like. So if we click on Dessert with their demo content, that is one of their category pages. And right now here they've got a full width page, so there's no sidebar. But what I'm going to recommend is that you do add the sidebar to pretty much all of your pages, so your category pages and your blog post pages, because if you're looking to make this blog to start making some money, you definitely want to be able to put some ads in that sidebar. So let's go ahead and see how we do that. So we're going to go back to the back end of our website here. We are going to go to WPZOOM, Theme Options, and then here under General Layouts, we've got the homepage layout, which has the sidebar, and we saw that there. And we've got the category pages, and let's also make those sidebar pages like this. And then we'll click Save Changes. If we click here and we hit refresh, or we hit delete cache, there we go. Now we've got the sidebar here on our category pages. Now this is optional. Maybe you just want to make sure people can get to the recipe that they're looking for, and that's fine. But I always think it's nice to be able to, have some ads featured on every page if you're starting to make money. And maybe this is something you want to implement later on after you've gotten a little bit more established and you've set up your ads. But I say just go ahead and set up the sidebar now, and that way you don't have to remember later on to add the sidebar to these category pages. So speaking of ads, I'm going to show you where you set up the ad space on your theme. So let's go ahead and check that out. Because definitely after a few months of making content, you should look into getting Google AdSense and adding that to your website as an opportunity, to make some money from your blogging. So let's go back to the back end of our website, and we're already here on the WPZOOM settings. And what we want to do is we want to look for banners here, and we can enable ad space in the header, and that looks like this. That's what the ad space here is. I don't particularly like this ad space. I wish that the ad was actually above the title of our website. I think that looks better, and it kind of keeps everything all in one line, but that's what the ad space would look like. Here on the back end, you can either paste in your Google AdSense code. You want to make sure it's the right size, or you can paste in an image depending on what you're doing. If you do an image, you want to make sure you add the URL of where it's supposed to go to, and then a banner title for the alt tag, and then you can click Save Changes. And then the other banner area we have here is after the first post, and you can enable this here, which goes on the home page, and this here is what that looks like on my test site. And then we've got the sidebar ads, and so this here can go before the widget area or after the widget area. So it's going to put an ad either right at the top of where your widgets are or right at the bottom of where your widgets are, and then you can save that. And then there's also this post ad space, and this ad here goes at the bottom of all of your posts. And one of the other options is later on, as you're sort of building your website up, you can also use a content block to add ads directly in between the content of your article, and that's what a lot of food blogs do to make extra money. So that's what the ad space looks like. So now let's go ahead and sort of finish this up and actually set up this website for making our blog with. And so the first thing we need to do that is get rid of all of that demo content. So to do that, we're going to go over here to the WPZOOM. If you didn't click on that already, click on that. And then we're going to go to Import and Export, and then Demo Content. And then right here, we're going to do Erase Content. And then we're going to say, yes, Erase Content. It's going to erase all of that demo content that was added to our website. Okay, so now all that demo content is deleted. So let's do the final touches to setting up our blog and making sure that it's ready to go. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the home page of our website, just see what it looks like now without anything in there. So we're going to click Delete Cache here to refresh it, and should remove all the content, and there we go. So now we've got no posts. We have the About Me widget is still set up, and I'm going to look again and see why this here isn't showing up, and we're going to set up the rest of these widgets here right now. Let's go ahead and set up those sidebar widgets. So let's go over to our other tab here where we have all of our settings, and then let's go to Appearance, Widgets, and let's see what's going on with this author bio. Did I spell it wrong? Tim at Cooking Time. Oh, Cooking Time with Tim. Okay, that should fix that. So let's push save. Hit refresh. There we go. It needs to say Cooking Time with Tim to show up. So make sure you type in the right email address there if you want it to show up. Okay, so that's got that set up there. Now we've got the social media icons, and they've got kind of two looks that they've set up for you here. So if you decide you like one look over the other better, I'm going to go with a more colorful one. So that's the first one here. And so what I'm going to do with the second version here is I'm just going to delete it. So I'm going to scroll down here, click delete. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to the first social icon zoom, and we've got some text above what you want that text to say. So you can type that in here, whatever you want that to say. I'm going to leave the settings just the way they are because I pretty much liked that look. And then here you want to make sure that you remove any social media accounts that you don't use, and that you change the link here to go to your social media profiles. And I'm not going to go through that all. I think you guys get the idea, but you just want to make sure you edit that all in. Click Save. And then I'm just going to close this here. And then we've got these image cards that were added in. So if you have images or things that you want to draw people's attention to, you can use those cards. Since I don't really have anything on this website right now, I'm going to go ahead and delete these two. And then I do have my Instagram widget that was automatically configured and set up when we use that API key for Instagram. So now I think that we're at a pretty good place with our sidebar to get started. So now let's start adjusting the look of our website and making sure that everything is the way we want it to be. So one of the things that we can do here on our homepage is if you have a logo that you want to put up here instead of just the default text that the theme has, we can add a logo. So we can hit the customize button up here to edit this, or from the dashboard, of which I'm going to click back here and go to the dashboard on my dashboard tab. We can go to appearance customize. So those are the two ways that you can get to this part of the website. Okay, and then we click under site identity here, and if we have a logo we want to add, we can add this logo. So I'm going to go ahead and upload a logo that I've created. And then we'll just and then just make sure it's selected. You can give it some alt text, so maybe Tim's cooking blog logo, something like that, and then a title here, and then we'll click select. Oops. Okay, and now it's changed that to this graphic logo instead of the text logo. You can also change your site title, which again shows up at the top of your website, and then click publish to save those changes. And then if the little icons that show up here, you've got this C icon, or like WPZOOM has this W icon up here. If you have an icon like that you've created for your website, you can add that. Also under site identity here where it says site icon, and you can upload an icon here. I haven't created one, but I'd probably use something like this frying pan logo here. And you just want to make sure that it's this size here, so 512 by 512 pixels for that. And if you don't like the sort of default fonts that are on this website, you can go here under typography, and then you can control the font family, the font size. I do think that this is a pretty good font size. Usually with most themes that I test, you need to bump up the font size a bit, but I think that 16 is actually a decent, easy to read size. So you can control sort of all of the looks of the fonts right here under this typography section, and each different type of font on the website has different controls over what that font looks like. So those settings are right there. And then if we want to, on our website here, if you scroll down to the bottom, it gives a credit to WPZOOM, and that's kind of tacky, so let's remove that, and I'll include a link down below to where you can find the code to remove this. But this is the page here, and what you want to do is you want to copy all of, just the code here, hit copy, and then back on the dashboard here, we want to go back to customize. And if these things take a little while to load, that's one of the things about working live online on your website, is that sometimes it takes a little bit of time for things to load. That's normal. That's unfortunately how building websites goes. So under here, under additional CSS, we're just going to paste that code right in there. And if I take it out, you can see that you can see in the live preview here that it shows back up. And then if I paste that code back in, you can see in the live preview that disappears. So we're going to go ahead and click publish to save that setting. And there we go. We can close this. Let's go ahead and hit refresh here. And we just want to confirm that the change took place. And it did, so we're all good. And one of the other things that I like about this theme is that it has a global disclosure section where it will automatically add a disclosure to every single one of your blog posts. So if you use affiliate marketing to make money on your website and you don't have to remember to put in that disclosure, you can have it placed in there for you automatically. And so if that's something you're interested in, you'll find the setting for that underneath the WPZOOM, general, and then single post options. And then right here is where you can add your global disclosure statement, which will show up on all of your posts automatically. And so, the example that they give is this post may contain affiliate links, we may earn money. So you could put something like that, or whatever it is that, your attorney recommends, or your lawyer, since, you may want to consult with them about what you should do. But the FTC here in the United States has said that if you're using affiliate links, you need to someplace prominently display that disclosure, and it can't be hidden anyplace, and it needs to be close to where the links are without there being any additional action taken by the user. So you can't actually have it on another page. So I like the fact that they include that here. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start making a blog post, and I'll show you an alternative method to adding in a disclosure where you can make a consistent block that you can always add to posts that have affiliate links on them. Okay, so next up, we're going to be looking at how to write our blog posts, how to use the recipe card plugin in our blog posts to sort of get that little bit of benefit of having the cards show up in Google search. And I'm also going to talk about a couple of hints that I have on how to write and format your blog posts. Let's go ahead and take a look at how we actually start really adding content to our website and making blog posts. And this is a great time if you have your own content ready to go. Maybe you already have a recipe written up and you want to start adding it in. This is a great time to pause, pull that information, have your images, have your text ready to go, and you can sort of follow along. And as I'm showing you how to do it, you can start building your first blog post right now. So let's go ahead and start out by creating a blog post, and I'm going to sort of walk you through the new features in the blog post using the new WordPress editor, which is called Gutenberg. So let's go over to posts. And there's several different ways you can add a new post. You can either go to here, posts, add new, or if you're on your dashboard, for example, if you hover over posts, you can slide over here and go to add new. And then you can also go up here at the top bar and you can click new post. So those are the different ways you can create a new post. Go back here to the main posts window and then we'll click on add new. And they've got a tour here also, which you might want to check out. I'm going to give you just a quick tour of the features of the post. So we have the post layout. So this is part of the theme here, and you can choose whether you want full width or have your sidebar. So for different posts, you may want to include or not include the sidebar. This is where we're going to enter in the content for our post, and this is where the title is going to go here. And then over here on the right-hand side is where we have some settings. So underneath the document tab here, which is kind of the default of what your posts open up to, these are the settings for the entire post. And so here's where you'll find the setting to add the stick to the top of the blog. So every single post that you click stick to the top of the blog will show up on your homepage there in that sticky section that we said. So I think it generally looks best with just one blog post there. So I just sort of pick the one post that you want to feature that month or that you want to feature in general because it's your most popular post right there at the top of the blog. And all of your other blog posts, I wouldn't select that. You can choose the authors. If you have multiple different users on your website, you can choose which author it has. Permalinks we've already handled, so you don't need to worry about that. Categories, this is where you can select a category or you can add a new category to your post. Tags, this is where you could add a tag. So if you're using my recommendation of using that carousel for the different featured posts at the top of your site, this here is where you could add a tag like best, for example, and use that to feature those on that carousel. Featured image, where we add and upload the featured image for a blog. So that's the image that's going to show up in our main blog feed. And also when we share our image to social media, that's usually the image that will show up on that social media post. And generally the excerpt will come from the first few lines that you write of text, or in this theme's example, I think it's the first 50 characters is what it's going to show. But if you want to show something different here, you can manually write a separate excerpt for each one of your posts. And here under discussion, you can turn on and off comments for each individual post. And this is if you're using the homepage slider, which I'm not using, but if you did want this featured in the homepage slider, this is how you would feature that. And if your post is not a recipe, that's where you would feature that. Now scroll back up here to the top. When we start adding in content, that's where this block functionality will come in, and that gives us the different settings for each of the different types of content blocks we can add to our page. And you can open and close this window here by using the gear icon. And I've had it, before where you just come in and you're editing a blog post and you don't see those settings, and that's how you get to it right here. And you can use the Jetpack icon here to see what your posts are going to look like on social media. And then this three little dots here helps you adjust what shows up in settings and what things are visible here. So now let's go ahead and start writing our blog post. The first thing we need to do is we need to give our post a title. So I'm going to call this post Easy Pizza. And one of the things you might want to do when you're creating the title for your blog post is do some search engine optimization research, sort of viewing what popular terms people are looking for when they're looking for, say, pizza example, and see if you can incorporate that in your title if it makes sense with the content that you're creating. I'll link to a video and some content about how to kind of do that search engine optimization research. And the next thing we want to do is, well, start writing our post. So the very first part of your post, one of the hints that I have on sort of what you're going to write in the first part of your post is you want to make this first couple of sentences something that's going to attract people to want to read this article, because this is what's going to show up on your excerpt. And in the search engine result, these first couple sentences are what's going to show up there. So you really want to make it enticing, sort of draw in your audience into reading this post. So here's just something off the top of my head here. And if I could spell, that would help. So there we go. Something like that, draw your readers in. Next thing we might want to do is let's go ahead and add a featured image. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm creating a blog post is first like to have my images set up and created. And I kind of advise, you don't need to do, if you have Jetpack installed and if you've had the image settings set properly, it's going to automatically compress the images to make them load quickly. But I would definitely recommend at least reducing the size of your images, so that they fit within 2500 by 2500 pixels or 2000 by 2000 pixels, just so you're not uploading a super giant file to your website. Let's go ahead and select an image here. And we can choose from our media library, which is going to allow us to upload that image from our computer. So we go to media library, upload files, select file. And then when I'm making a blog post, I like to kind of put everything into one folder just so I can easily find it. In this case, I've got all of my test images for creating a cooking blog here, but I would recommend having just a place where you can easily find all of the images that you're going to use in one post. So I'm going to go ahead and use this pizza with stuff for our featured image here. And you can see here this image was 2000 by 2000, 1 megabyte, which is definitely too big. Jetpack should be doing a good job of making that image a little bit smaller for us, I'm hoping. And then you definitely want to give each image you upload to your website some alternative text. So this is sort of describing what the image is. And it's going to help search engine optimization. You don't want to stuff it with just keywords and random things like that. You do want it to be an actual description of what the image is that would be, helpful to your viewers. And also it will help your search engine optimization. So, something like this. You can change the title of it. There we go. And then we can set this as the featured image. And we're not going to see it here, but on our blog post, it's going to show up at the top of our blog post. And then we can go through and just either continue to write by pushing the enter key or return key and writing, or if you have another image you want to add, for example, you can add an image by either pushing the plus icon here or the plus icon here to see all of the different blocks that you can add. We also have the option to do patterns, so it's different sort of columns that you can add, columns with images on top if you want to do that. I think that for a blog where you're going to consistently have a sidebar on it, I would just stick with just a simple one column layout. So we've got the different text options up here, the different media options down here. So we've got images, we've got video, and then as we scroll down, we've got some other design options like buttons and lines. So basically just all different types of content that you can use. If you do want to embed video, like from YouTube, for example, you can use this block here to add a link to a YouTube video, and that will embed it right on your blog post page. And then down here at the bottom, since we have the WPZOOM recipe card installed, we've got the recipe card block that we'll be using in just a moment here. So let's go ahead and just add an image to this page. And we can click upload to upload an image. Someplace in here I've got another pizza image, so we'll just put that in here. There we go, and it's uploading it right now. And sometimes it can take a few minutes, but just go ahead and be patient. And if you might want to add all your images in at the end and sort of write in your text first. So usually what I do is I actually write my entire post in another program and then paste it into WordPress and kind of do all my fiddling, add in my images and things like that. The other thing you want to be doing when you're making your blog post is kind of break it down into different sections, and one way of doing that is by adding different headlines. So we've got the paragraph tab for writing general body text, but we should also be using, click Browse All here, should also be using headlines throughout our blog post. So here we'll use the heading tab here, and basically there's an order that search engines are looking for on the internet for how your headings go. And so typically the title of your post is going to be an H1 tag, and so then you want to think of it as like an outline. So then the next section is going to be an H2 tag. So how to make pizza dough, for example. And then if you're thinking about it as an outline, you might have a couple of introductory things here about the history of pizza dough, or I don't know, something like that. Put in making great dough is all about I don't know what, something. But then if you have more that goes underneath that, under that how to make pizza dough topic, and you want to add another headline in there, you want to make that an H3 tag, because thinking of it as an outline, it's going to go H1, which is the title of your whole blog post there, and then H2 is sort of the next level, and then anything that goes underneath that heading would be H3. So how to make dough properly, so it's going kind of with the outline feature, and then you'd write some text in here about it. And then now let's say we're going to start talking about the sauce and some of the things you want to think about when making sauce. We're going to go back to heading, and then again, thinking about it as an outline, we're going to go back to the H2 tag, because now we're talking about a whole new topic here, and we're going to go pizza sauce, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of how you want to structure your blog posts. And that's going to help you with your search engine optimization. It's also going to help your audience easily be able to scan down your post and find the parts of it that they're interested in. And I think that's one of the really key and important features about making an easy-to-read blog post, is breaking it down, having short sentence sections or short paragraphs, and making it just really easy to scan down your blog post so people can find out the parts that they're looking for. So now let's go ahead and look at how we add a recipe to this blog post. So you want to put all of the main parts of your recipe into this recipe card block, because that's going to help search engines find and display your recipe in those search engine cards. So for example, if I were to go to Google right now and search for pizza recipe, using the card block is going to help your website have the potential of showing up in one of these cards like this, where it's going to show sort of kind of the ingredients, the title, an image, and hopefully make it pop up to the top. It's not a guarantee, but if you don't use the recipe card block, this isn't going to automatically happen. You need to use that schema, which is what the recipe card block is going to offer. Let's go back and look at our post here. So now you can either search for it, or go back here and click the plus icon over here and go down to where that recipe card block is. Here's going to default to our featured image for our blog post. And under block here, we can change the style of how this card block looks. There's a couple different styles here. You can also set a default style if there's a style that you particularly like. You can replace the image with a different image if you don't want it to use the featured image. You can also choose to hide the image if you want. You can display the print button. You can display a Pinterest button, which is an excellent idea. And that way, if somebody likes this post, they can easily share it by pinning it on Pinterest. You can add an author name if you want to, or you can turn that off. And by default, it's going to pull the name of the author of this post. You can also add a video. And so some of the things like the course you need to add over here in the block settings, and you can choose whether you display this or not. Type of cuisine. Display the difficulty. And you can display how many it's serving for, or you can turn any of these features off. So that's how you control kind of all of these top metadata settings are over here in the card block settings. And then next we have ingredients. And you can also break down the ingredients into different sections. So if you go add ingredient group, and then you can move them up and down here just like this. So you might say dough, flour, water, salt. You can add another group for sauce. And then as you get down to the bottom of that list, you can click add to add ingredients, or you can use the trash can, or you can add additional images in line here with the ingredients. Next up is the directions. The directions work the same way, so you can break it up into groups for your different recipe. If you want to add a video, you can do that over here on the video settings sides, and any additional notes. And you can also add some custom details about the post over here if you would like. And then once you've finished making your blog post and you're satisfied with it, you can click the Save Draft button if you're not ready to publish it. And then over here under Documents, you can change the publishing to publish it at a specific time right over here. You can also click Publish here to publish it right away. And you can click the Preview button here, and you can preview it on various different formats, so on desktop, tablet, or mobile. And then you can click Preview, and it'll open it up in a new tab. And then you can see what your post will look like on the home page of your website. And also, if you want to share it to social media, you can click on the Jetpack icon here and then click Preview, and this will show you what it will look like on Facebook, on Twitter, kind of give you an idea of how your featured image is looking on these various different sources. And this Google search icon is showing you kind of what your general search result is going to look like. So it's showing you what the title is going to look like in Google search and what the description is going to look like. So if we go back to Google pizza recipes, we're talking about down here what this is going to look like and sort of what information is going to show up in the search results for your recipe. So let's go ahead and publish this post. Oh, I did want to say something, I forgot about this, about how you make a reoccurring block. So let's say that we wanted to have a block that we wanted to be able to reuse that talks about our affiliate marketing. So I'm just going to write it up here real quick. And just to differentiate it from the standard text in this post, I'm just going to italicize it. And now, if we click these three little dots here, we can add to reusable blocks. And you can give it a name. And then click Save. And now, anytime we want to use this block, we can go over here to our blocks and click on reusable, and we've got that reusable block here. And so any kind of content that you're constantly rewriting or reusing, you can put that in here. So that might be like a code block that if you're pasting in a code for your Google AdWords, for example, you may just want to make a reusable block that adds that in there for you, so you don't have to constantly go find the code, paste it in, just use that reusable block. So it's a great shortcut to adding that content that you're always adding to your different blog posts. And then if you want to move this content block or any content block, you just highlight the block and then you click the down arrows, and that's going to move it down on your page. And same thing if you want to move something up on your page, same idea. And then anytime you make a change to a blog post, you want to click Update, and that will update those changes. So that's how you do a blog post in WordPress using the new Gutenberg WordPress editor. And then when we want to go back to the dashboard of our website, we just click on this WordPress logo up here, and that takes us back to the dashboard. Now, if we want to make a page for our website, it works almost exactly the same way as making a new blog post. We go over here to Pages, we click Add New, and of course you can access pages in the same way by clicking Add New here, or at the top you can create a new page. Click Add New. And then let's just make an About page. Add an image up here. Super dorky image of me at my desk. And then we can just add some text. There we go. And then we can go over here to our general settings here, go to our document settings, and we can click publish. That'll make that page live. And we can copy the link to that page if we wanted to use it someplace else. Like for example, if we wanted to make one of those cards, go to our about page, or we can go and we can view what the page looks like. This is not going to look incredible because, well, it doesn't have anything on it. It gives you an idea of how you can make an about page. And now since I've copied that link, and also up here at the top, we can see that the link to that page is following that permalink structure that we set up. So it's my URL, cookingtimewithtim/about. And if we wanted to add a link to the about page, either here in this about me card or adding one of those image cards, we can do that. Let me just show you real quick how to do that. Go over here to dashboard. Actually, I could have gone over there to widgets, but anyways, appearance, widgets. And so on the bio link, we could add a read more button. And I could add that link to the about page right there that I copied. Or in the image card button, and we want to use the image card button by WPZOOM. Let's see here, where is that? The WPZOOM image box. Then we can add that to the sidebar, which is already selected, and click Add Widget. And then click About. Can add that super dorky image of me in here again. And then we can add that URL in and click Save. And now if we go back and view our website and hit refresh, we've got the Read More button that's going to go to the About page, and we've got this About card that's going to go to the About page. Okay, and then one other thing that we should know how to do, I don't think we need to really do it right now because there's not a lot of pages or content on our website, but the last thing that we need to know how to do is how to add a menu to our website, or add menus, because you can add menus in various different places on our website. So in order to add a menu to your website, you go over here to Appearance, Menus, and then we need to create a new menu name. So I like to have my main menu just called Main Menu. And then we can decide where on our theme we want this menu to show up automatically. So I would say not the top menu, because you might want to reserve that for some other information, but it should be for the main menu and the mobile menu. The footer menu, you might want it to be in the footer menu. That way when people are all the way at the bottom, they can see sort of your main links. And let's uncheck the recipe index, and then we can do create menu. And now we need to add items to this menu. So as I said before, we don't have any pages really, but we can add the About page. Click Add that to menu. There we go. So now we've got one item in our menu. And then we can also add categories to our menu. And we haven't created any categories because we don't really have any posts yet. But once you start creating posts and adding different categories, you'll have all of your categories available to you. And so we can add recipes to our menu right now. And then when you do have multiple different items, if you wanted to have one menu item that said categories, for example, and then you wanted to have a drop down below that, the way you create a drop down on this is you just drag this to the right a little bit, and then when you see that it's indented like that and it shows sub item, that means it's going to show up as a drop down on your website's menu. Now just remember to click Save Menu here when you're done, and that's how you create a menu for your website. All right, so now I've shown you guys everything that you need to get set up and start writing your blog. And I want to hear from you. If you followed this tutorial all the way through, I want you to share the website that you made down below. And let's start building a little community here. Let's support each other in making our own food blogs. I think that would be really exciting. If you have any questions about this tutorial, definitely leave them down in the comments below. If you enjoyed it and you found it helpful and you know somebody else who is making a food blog or maybe who should be making a food blog, definitely would appreciate it if you would share this video with them. And for more tips and hints, definitely visit realwebsitehints.com and be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video.